Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Bold and beautiful jaw-dropper * pales * in comparison to the shocker that's coming next. We're 99.9% certain that the bold and the beautiful introduced Luna and Poppy with no real clue who they were. Why did the erstwhile Penelope warn her daughter to stay away from the Forresters? We don't know and probably never will. We're also at least 75% sure that the show still hasn't figured out what the duo is about. How terrible could their lives have been if Poppy was level-headed enough to ditch Tom rather than keep the baby she was carrying around the excesses of rock and roll? But none of that is important now, because the powers that be do seem to have settled on what Luna and Poppy's next arc will be, and it's a doozy. It all stems from the kiss that shook the audience to its core, the shocking smoocherama that Luna planted on Bill minutes after learning that he wasn't her father. DBT? We cried, although maybe with a different letter of the alphabet at the end. What that stunning moment told us, really for the first time, was that maybe there is more to Luna than meets the eye. So far, we've been led to believe that she is so sweet that conversations with her must be kept short, lest her sugariness turn someone diabetic. However, we are thinking that with the rewrite that she had an awful childhood, she might have gotten mental whiplash from the revelation that $1 million bill is not her father. Did Luna tamper with the paternity test? No, we still suspect that was Lie hoping to protect someone near and dear to her. But when the second test revealed that Bill is not Luna's father, she snapped and set in motion Plan B to ensure that in some fashion the tycoon remains the answer to the question, who's your daddy? It's not the worst plan really. With Poppy cooling her heels behind bars, Bill might find his head turned by a younger woman. Right, Steffi? Luna's no killer, but we could totally see her, in this unstable state, doing her damnedest to see that Mom fries for the murders while she works to get Bill in bed with her. Meanwhile, the real culprit walks free. There would be loose ends for Luna to tie up, obviously. She'd have to sell Katie on the idea that the pull she felt toward Bill all along wasn't familial. She just didn't realize it at first, or second, or third. Katie doesn't mistrust Luna, so she'd have a harder time attacking her than she did Poppy. As for Will, Luna might nudge him past the weirdness of having a potential stepmother who's only a few years older than him by pointing to Steffi, whose mother looks like she could be her sister. Beyond that, Luna might suggest that Will enjoy having a parent who isn't so far removed from what being a teenager is like that she isn't able to look the other way now and then. If you want, I'll even slip you some of my mom's special mints. It promises to be sick and twisted, and we are here for it. We have to imagine that the late, great William J. Bell would approve of the daring too. Remember, he once had the young and restless character played by his daughter IRL date a guy who turned out to be her half-brother. The lights of the Forrester Creations office cast an almost ethereal glow over the city of Los Angeles as another day drew to a close. Ridge Forrester stood by the window, gazing out at the city that had been his playground, battlefield, and sanctuary for as long as he could remember. The events of the past weeks had been nothing short of a roller coaster. Betrayals, revelations, and a marriage hanging by a thread had all but consumed him. But as he stood there, lost in thought, he couldn't shake the feeling that the turbulence was far from over. In fact, it was only the calm before the storm, a storm that would change everything. Down the hall, Brooke Logan was similarly lost in thought, her perfectly manicured fingers drumming a restless rhythm on the polished oak desk. The recent revelation that had nearly torn her and Ridge apart still lingered in the air like a toxic cloud. Her heart ached with the memory of the accusations, the doubt, and the fear that had gripped her when Ridge had confronted her with the damning evidence. But as much as it hurt, Brooke knew that this wasn't the end of their saga. There was something darker on the horizon, something that would make their recent turmoil look like child's play. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Steffi Forrester was doing her best to maintain her composure, though the tension was evident in every line of her face. The confrontation with Hope had left her reeling. Hope, who had always been the picture of virtue, had suddenly turned into a viper, striking at her with venomous words that echoed in Steffi's mind. The accusations, the bitterness, it had all been so unexpected. But even as she tried to make sense of it, Steffi couldn't help but feel that Hope's outburst was just the tip of the iceberg. And she was right. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city. The wheels of fate were already in motion, setting the stage for a shocker that would leave everyone reeling. At Forrester Creations, the usually bustling office was eerily quiet, save for the soft hum of the air conditioning. The staff had all gone home for the evening, leaving the building in an almost ghostly silence. It was in this silence that Carter Walton found himself, alone in his office, staring at a document on his desk with a mixture of disbelief and dread. The words on the page blurred before his eyes as he tried to process what he had just discovered. "This can't be right," he muttered to himself, shaking his head as if to clear it of the confusion. But no matter how many times he read the document, the truth remained the same. And it was a truth that could shatter the Forrester family like never before. Carter had stumbled upon something he wasn't supposed to see, something that had been buried deep within the company's archives. It was a contract, signed years ago, that had somehow been overlooked. But it wasn't just any contract. It was a contract that tied the Forrester name to something dark, something dangerous, and something that could destroy them all. His hands trembled as he reached for his phone, knowing that he had no choice but to share this with Ridge. But as he dialed the number, a cold realization washed over him. This wasn't just about the Forrester family. This was about his own future, his own loyalties, and the choices he would have to make in the coming days. The phone rang twice before Ridge picked up, his voice tense with the weight of the day's events. "Carter, what's going on?" "We need to talk," Carter replied, his voice tight with urgency. "I found something you need to see." Ridge's heart skipped a beat at the tone in Carter's voice. He had known Carter for years, trusted him like a brother. If Carter said it was urgent, then it was serious. "I'm on my way," Ridge said, already grabbing his coat and heading out the door. As Ridge made his way to the office, a sense of foreboding settled over him. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever Carter had discovered was going to change everything, and not in a good way. Back at the Logan mansion, Brooke was pacing the floor of her living room, the events of the day swirling in her mind. She knew that she and Ridge had been through more than their fair share of trials, but something about this latest ordeal felt different. It was as if a dark cloud had settled over them, growing thicker and more menacing with each passing moment. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. She opened the door to find Taylor Hayes standing there, her expression unreadable. "We need to talk," Taylor said, her voice calm but firm. Brooke's heart sank. She knew that look, that tone. Taylor had always been the voice of reason, the one who tried to mediate when things got out of hand. But tonight there was something different in her eyes, something that sent a chill down Brooke's spine. "What's this about, Taylor?" Brooke asked, stepping aside to let her in.